Eastern State Penitentiary stands as one of the most influential prisons in American history. Opened in the early 19th century, it is designed to enforce a strict philosophy of punishment through isolation, silence, and labor. By the early 1920s, that philosophy remains firmly in place, even as criticism grows across the country. Inside its stone walls, the daily routine is rigid. Inmates rise early. They work long hours. They speak to no one unless permitted. The system promises reflection and reform. In practice, it delivers control through exhaustion and psychological pressure. Eastern State operates on the belief that discipline reshapes behavior. Silence is mandatory. Movement is regulated. Labor is constant. Prisoners are expected to follow orders without hesitation. Any deviation is treated as defiance. The work assigned is physically demanding. Tasks include stone breaking, carpentry, shoemaking, and maintenance of the prison itself. The labor is repetitive and relentless. Rest is limited. Complaints are discouraged. Punishment is swift. By 1923, the prison population includes men from varied backgrounds, many serving long sentences under harsh conditions. The administration maintains that order is proof of success. Publicly, Eastern State is still described as a model institution. Privately, reports of strain and unrest increase. Guards observe growing resistance. Inmates delay work. Tools are mishandled. Rules are tested. The silence that defines the prison begins to fracture in small, deliberate ways. If stories like this matter to you, consider subscribing, because what happens next reveals how this system truly works. The labor system at Eastern State is not optional. Refusal is treated as insubordination. Punishments include solitary confinement, reduced rations, and extended sentences within the prison's internal discipline structure. Oversight is minimal. External inspections are rare and often superficial. Prisoners have limited avenues to report abuse or exhaustion. Medical care is basic. Injuries from labor are common and frequently untreated. Psychological isolation compounds physical strain. Prisoners eat alone. They work alone. They sleep alone. Contact with other inmates is prohibited. Even guards limit speech to commands. Over time, this isolation intensifies stress. It erodes patience. It turns routine discipline into perceived cruelty. By the early 1920s, national attitudes toward incarceration begin to shift. Reformers question whether silence and forced labor truly rehabilitate. Eastern State resists change. Inside the prison, resentment builds gradually. It is not organized through meetings or conversation. It spreads through shared experience. Prisoners observe each other's injuries. They note who collapses during work. They see punishments imposed for minor mistakes. The system relies on compliance, but it provides no relief. The gap between official policy and lived reality widens. The tipping point comes in 1923. Precise triggers are difficult to isolate, but conditions converge. Work demands intensify. Discipline tightens. Patience runs out. On a scheduled workday, prisoners collectively refuse to comply with orders. It is a rare breach of the silence rule. The refusal spreads quickly across sections of the prison. Guards are unprepared for coordinated resistance. The system is designed to manage individuals, not groups acting together. As work stoppages continue, tension escalates. Prisoners begin damaging equipment. Doors are struck. Fixtures are broken. Fires are set in limited areas using available materials. Smoke fills corridors. Cell blocks are breached. The rigid structure of the prison, meant to enforce isolation, now hampers response. Communication between guards is slow. Visibility is poor. Control slips. Authorities respond with force. Additional guards are summoned. Local law enforcement is alerted. The priority is containment. Sections of the prison are sealed. Prisoners involved in the disturbance are subdued. The chaos is intense but localized. Order is eventually restored, but not without damage. Parts of the facility are left charred and broken. The event shocks administrators who believed such resistance was impossible under the silent system. News of the riot reaches the public quickly. Newspapers describe disorder inside a prison long praised for discipline. Officials issue statements emphasizing control and minimizing underlying causes. Internally, the incident prompts concern. The administration investigates how a prison built to suppress collective action allowed it to occur. The answer is uncomfortable. The very tools used to enforce order, silence, isolation, and hard labor, have amplified frustration rather than reduced it. The 1923 riot exposes structural weaknesses. Guards trained to manage solitary inmates struggle when faced with group resistance. The absence of communication channels prevents early intervention. The labor system, intended to instill discipline, instead becomes a catalyst for rebellion. Reformers seize on the incident as evidence that the philosophy behind Eastern State is flawed. In the years that follow, criticism intensifies. Reports question the effectiveness of forced silence. Studies highlight the psychological harm caused by prolonged isolation. Other prisons begin adopting different models focused on classification, education, and limited social interaction. Eastern State lags behind. Its reputation shifts from innovation to obsolescence. The riot does not immediately transform conditions, but it accelerates decline. Administrators are forced to acknowledge that punishment alone does not produce compliance indefinitely. The event becomes part of a broader national conversation about incarceration. It underscores the limits of control-based systems. It demonstrates how pressure, when unrelieved, results in rupture. Eastern State continues operating for decades after the riot, but its influence wanes. The silent system is gradually abandoned. Labor practices are modified. Oversight increases. By the mid-20th century, the prison stands as a relic of an earlier philosophy. The 1923 riot remains a defining moment, not for its scale, but for what it reveals. It shows that reform cannot be achieved through isolation alone. It shows that forced labor without purpose breeds resistance. It shows that prisons reflect the values imposed upon them. Eastern State's rigid discipline creates compliance for a time, but at a cost that becomes unsustainable. The stone walls remain. The cell blocks stand empty. The silence that once defined the prison is now historical. The riot of 1923 is remembered as a warning. When punishment replaces rehabilitation, the system eventually turns on itself. If you think this story was intense, the next one will leave you speechless. Subscribe for more true crime stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.